Hello, dear friends. Patrick here. How you doing? It's Monday, July the 10th, I believe, 2023. Shout out to Angie. Shout out to Beth, Clarice, many others. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your kind words. Today I'm going to be continuing on through Disturbing the Universe by Freeman Dyson. Just a wonderful, wonderful book. There's very little that I do not like about this book. It's just so well done, so well written. I like the way that it is spaced out via the paragraphs and also the length of the chapters. So today I'm just covering chapters 8 to 12. So 8, 9, 10, and 11 I'm going to be covering today. And the later chapters are less consequential for me. The one that jumped out at me the most is chapter 8. So I want to share a couple of things from this chapter with you. The title of the chapter is called Prelude in E flat minor. He talks about this piece of music that he was exposed to as a child by Johann Sebastian Bach called Prelude number 8. Now, I played this piece of music for myself, and I really didn't resonate with it because I haven't been exposed to classical music from a young age. It's nice, but again, he's sharing his own personal experience, and so I can appreciate that. But I wanted to share with you his experience with his fellow Teller. Now he's working with physicists from the University of Chicago around 1949, 1950 timeframe, and this one gentleman he worked with by the name of Teller. He worked with two guys, Fermi and Teller, and they were also Beth and Feynman from Cornell, and of course Oppenheimer, and they were developing the atomic research, right? This is after the atomic bomb had already been solved, and they're continuing their atomic research. That's the initial understanding of how to build nuclear reactors to produce power, and also how to build a hydrogen bomb for that matter. But anyway, this guy Teller, he says that at the bottom of page 88, he revealed himself as an ardent supporter of the world government movement, an organization which in those days promised salvation by means of a world government to be set up in the near future with or without the cooperation of the Soviet Union. Teller preached the gospel of world government with great charm and intelligence. I concluded my weekly report to my family with the words, "He is a good example of the saying that no man is so dangerous as an idealist." And so by this paragraph, Freeman Dyson tells us and lets the reader know his opinion on somebody that is wholeheartedly committed to a one world government. What was our friend's name there? John Ralston Saul would call a true believer. So this guy Teller was a true believer. And this is when they first came up with the idea of the necessity of a one world government, was when they discovered the atomic bomb, right? When they discovered that they could take a piece of, plutonium the size of your fist, or a small radioactive piece of matter, and convert that into total energy, basically, by splitting the atom, to create a bomb that could blow up a city just by a small amount of matter and bombarding it, and all the research they did and all that kind of stuff. Once they realized that, they said to themselves, the age of innocence is over. We must have a one world government. Otherwise, if this technology gets into the wrong hands, someone will go AWOL and try and blow up the whole earth. And so this was their reasoning behind it. So 20 years before the first Davos meeting, we read in the last book we covered the first Davos meeting by Charles Schwab. The first Davos meeting. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's not get distracted on that. In 1970s. Now we are 20 years ahead of that, when the first inkling of the necessity of a one world government was sort of hatched, so to speak. So it's interesting to trace the reasoning behind that back to this point. And even at that point, Freeman Dyson had the foresight and the insight to let us know that he's saying that there's a good example of saying that no man is so dangerous as an idealist. The idea of the one world government has never solved any risks of a individual going AWOL. That can exist within a one world government and within individual nation states. And Dyson understood that. And he understood that the idea of the one world government really only led to an increase in government excess, an increase in government bureaucracy, a decrease in the rights and freedoms of individual citizens around the world. And so the efforts at globalism end up being more detrimental than what it is they are trying to achieve for humanity. They have these noble goals for humanity to institute a one world government, to bring a utopia, to bring a peace, to bring cooperation, and yet within the framework of the nation state system, we have those things already. We have cooperation between governments, and governments have been cooperating since the 1950s on sharing ideas about developing nuclear technology and developing the use of nuclear technology for good. And so the idea of this one world government has really, in essence, been unnecessary. The threats are going to exist whether the government expands its powers or not. And so there's a strong reason to be sympathetic to a libertarian view which would endorse less government. I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll let you, the reader, to decide, because everybody has their own opinion on how much power the government should or should not have, and it's up to you to decide. So let's continue on page 91. There's quite an amazing quote that he gives here from his own studies, and I'm just going to quote it for you. It's from the book that he talked about earlier, F6, and I'll mention that a little later. Here we go. Let's get through this quickly here. He says, as long as the world endures, there must be order, there must be government, but woe to the governors, for by the very operation of their duty, however excellent, they themselves are destroyed. For you can only rule men by appealing to their fear and their lust. Government requires the exercise of the human will, and the human will is from the demon. And so he quotes that, and it's a very powerful statement from a work that he is familiar with. And I'm not going to bore you with the details on that. And then another statement from page 91 that he makes here, he says that nuclear explosives have a glitter more seductive than gold to those who play with them. And so what he talks about in this chapter is that these nuclear scientists ended up getting involved in this political sphere, this political striving for power, in particular Oppenheimer, who was accused by the government at that time, the United States government, that he wasn't 100% loyal to the United States, and thinking that he may have had some kind of communist leanings or something like that, and he had to fight against that. He eventually got exonerated, but there was all this political strife that was going on at that time. So that's an amazing chapter, chapter 8. Chapter 9 is called Little Red Schoolhouse. It is the history in the 1950s of them developing the first nuclear reactors for productive means, right? And the technology behind that and the different versions that were behind that. And so that's very fascinating for somebody that's interested in physics or in nuclear energy. And then chapter 10 is called Saturn by 1970. And there he switches and he does gives an expose on the history of the development of rocketry, in particular from the German engineers who were recruited, people like Wernher von Braun from World War II, and they began research on space travel and rocketry, which they cooperated with. And that takes us to chapter 11, called Pilgrim Saints and Spacemen. And this one, again, it continues on his history of research in the area of nuclear energy, but with the application to space travel. So this chapter is over my head, and it's not really something that jumps out at me. It's more for somebody that has an idea or a vision of the future space travel. It's similar to his mentioning of Bach's prelude in prelude number 8, it doesn't really apply to my own personal interests, but it is a amazingly well written chapter, and very, very interesting. His ideas about the possibility for future space travel. It's not something that grabs my heart or mind, because I can't really fathom that. So that's okay. I don't have to. The entire book doesn't have to resonate with me. I just keep pushing forward. So I'm on chapter 12. It's called Peacemaking, and I'll move forward from here. So thank you so much for watching. God bless you. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you're finding good books to read, and that you're spending time with people you love, and that you're enjoying the summer weather wherever you are. I love you very much. I pray that God blesses you, and I hope that you're getting some fresh air, and have yourself a great day. Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.